In the crowded city of New Meridian, humans and aliens lived together but not as equals. The streets were wide to fit tall alien bodies. Buildings were high, doors were large, and signs were placed far above human eye level. Power in the city often followed size. The taller and stronger a species looked, the more respect it received. Because of this, almost no one noticed the short alien woman. She was barely taller than a human child. Her skin was a soft gray-blue, her limbs compact and strong-looking only if someone bothered to look closely. Her eyes were large and dark, always watching, always careful. She wore plain clothes, never bright colors, never anything that would draw attention. She walked close to walls, avoided open spaces, and spoke only when necessary. Most people assumed she was weak. They whispered when she passed. Some laughed. Some stepped in front of her on purpose. Others acted like she did not exist at all. Her name was Kira, but very few people ever asked. Every morning, Kira boarded the same public bus at the same stop. The bus served a long route from the lower residential zones to the industrial district. It was always crowded, always loud, and often tense. Tall alien workers stood shoulder to shoulder. Humans squeezed between them, holding rails and straps. The bus driver was a human named Daniel Reyes. Daniel had been driving this route for 10 years. He knew every crack in the road, every sharp turn, every stoplight that stayed red too long. He also knew the faces of his regular passengers. Most drivers stopped caring after a while, but Daniel still noticed people. He noticed Kira on his first week on the route. She waited patiently in line even when others pushed ahead of her. When the bus arrived, she climbed the steps slowly, careful with each movement. Many drivers would have closed the door too fast. Daniel always waited until she was fully inside. "Good morning," he said the first time. She froze for a moment, surprised. Then she nodded. "Good morning," she replied softly, her accent strange but clear. After that, he greeted her every day. She always sat in the same seat near the front, small hands folded in her lap, eyes forward. Other passengers sometimes complained. "Why do you wait for her?" one tall alien asked once. "She's slow," Daniel shrugged. "Everyone deserves time to sit." Once a human teenager mocked her height loudly. Daniel stopped the bus, turned around, and told the boy to get off if he could not behave. The bus went silent. Kira stared at the floor, but her shoulders trembled slightly. No one defended her like that before. Daniel did not know her story. He did not know where she came from or why she lived alone in a city that clearly did not want her. He only knew that she was polite, quiet, and always thanked him when she got off the bus. That was enough. One evening the sky was dark with heavy clouds and the air smelled like rain and metal. The bus was packed tighter than usual. The city was tense. Rumors had spread all week about alien enforcement units searching for unregistered individuals. No one knew exactly what that meant, but everyone felt uneasy. Kira boarded the bus as usual. Daniel noticed her hands shaking slightly as she showed her transit card. "Everything okay?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, thank you." She sat down, but her posture was stiff, her eyes scanning the bus instead of staring forward. 3 stops later, the bus doors opened with a sharp hiss. 5 alien enforcers stepped inside. They were tall, armored, and heavily armed. Their uniforms were black and silver, marked with the symbol of interstellar authority. The bus fell silent. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. Enforcers rarely boarded civilian buses unless something serious was happening. One of them stepped forward. "Remain seated," the enforcer said in a cold, amplified voice. "This inspection will be brief." Passengers avoided eye contact. Some aliens straightened proudly, confident they had nothing to fear. Humans shrank into their seats. Kira did neither. She went very still. The enforcers scanned the bus with handheld devices. One of them paused. The device emitted a sharp tone. He looked up directly at Kira. "There," he said. The lead enforcer approached her seat. You stand up. Kira's fingers tightened around the edge of her seat. Slowly, she stood. Compared to the enforcer, she looked impossibly small. Identification, he demanded. She reached into her bag and handed him a card. He scanned it, then frowned. This registration is incomplete, he said. You are required to come with us. Murmurs spread through the bus. Someone whispered that it was a mistake. Someone else said she probably deserved it. Kira's voice was barely audible. Please, I have done nothing wrong. The enforcer did not respond. He grabbed her arm. Before Daniel could think, he stood up. Hey, he said loudly. What's going on? The enforcer turned slowly. Sit down, human. She showed you her ID, Daniel said. If there's a problem, explain it. You can't just drag people off my bus. The bus felt like it was holding its breath. The enforcer stepped closer to Daniel. He was more than twice Daniel's height. This does not concern you. It concerns me when someone's being treated like that, Daniel replied. His voice shook, but he did not back down. Kira looked at him, fear clear in her eyes. She shook her head slightly. Please, she whispered, don't. The enforcer tightened his grip on her arm. Enough. Another enforcer moved to restrain Daniel. A passenger shouted. Someone else started recording with their device. In the chaos, the bus jolted as Daniel's foot slipped off the brake. The bus rolled forward a few inches before stopping again. Out, the enforcer said, pulling Kira toward the door. That was when everything changed. Kira's free hand moved. It was not fast in a wild way. It was fast in a controlled way, like a precise machine. Her small fingers pressed against the enforcer's armored joint. There was a sharp crack. The enforcer screamed and fell back. Gasps filled the bus. Before anyone could react, Kira stepped forward. She shifted her weight, twisted, and used the enforcer's own momentum against him. Another enforcer lunged at her. She ducked under his arm and struck his side. His armor dented inward and he collapsed, gasping. The movements lasted only seconds. Silence followed. Two enforcers lay on the floor, stunned and unable to move. Kira stood between them, breathing hard, her eyes wide with shock, not at what she had done, but at the fact that she had been forced to do it. The remaining enforcers raised their weapons, unsure. Stop, Daniel shouted. No one else gets hurt. Kira slowly raised her hands. Please, she said, I did not want this. The lead enforcer backed away, fear flickering across his face. Fall back, he ordered. They retreated, dragging their injured comrades with them. The bus doors closed with a heavy thud. For a long moment, no one spoke. Passengers stared at Kira as if seeing her for the first time. Some looked afraid, others looked ashamed. Kira turned to Daniel. Her voice was quiet and broken. I told you not to make them angry. Daniel swallowed. You saved everyone. She shook her head. I only delayed what comes next. Outside, sirens echoed through the city. Daniel knew, deep in his bones, that this was only the beginning. The bus did not move for a long time after the doors closed. People were still frozen in their seats, eyes wide, hearts pounding. The sounds of the city slowly returned outside, engines, distant voices, the hum of flying traffic. But inside the bus, the air felt heavy and unreal. Daniel was the first to move. He slowly sat back down in the driver's seat and placed his hands on the wheel. They were shaking. He took a deep breath and looked at Kira through the mirror. She was still standing in the aisle. Her shoulders were tense, and her hands trembled now that the danger had passed. The small alien woman looked less like a fighter and more like someone who had just woken from a bad dream. Kira, Daniel said softly, please sit down. She nodded and returned to her seat. She kept her eyes lowered, avoiding the stares around her. Some passengers leaned away from her now, fear replacing mockery. Others looked at her with something closer to awe. Daniel closed the doors and started the bus. No one complained. No one spoke. At the next stop, several passengers rushed off as soon as the doors opened. They did not look back. A few stayed, including a middle-aged human woman and a tall alien worker who kept glancing at Kira with confusion. By the time the bus reached the end of the route, only a handful of people remained. Kira stood up when the bus stopped. She hesitated, then walked toward the front. "Daniel," she said quietly, "thank you." He turned in his seat. "You don't need to thank me." "I do," she replied. "Most humans would not have spoken." He studied her face. "Those enforcers, they were afraid of you." "They should be," she said, not proudly but sadly. Sirens echoed again in the distance, closer now. Kira looked toward the door. "They will come for me." Daniel's chest tightened. "Then you shouldn't go alone." She looked up sharply. "You should not come with me." "Too late for that," he said. "They saw me, they know my face." She was silent for a moment, then she nodded once. "Then we must move." Daniel shut down the bus systems faster than he ever had. He opened a side emergency door and guided her out through an alley behind the terminal. The rain had started, cold drops falling from the dark sky. They moved quickly. Daniel led her through narrow streets and maintenance corridors he had learned over years of driving routes no one else wanted. The city above them felt hostile now. Drones buzzed in the distance. Lights flickered as enforcement systems activated. They reached an old service tunnel used decades ago before new transit systems were built. Daniel forced open the rusted door, and they slipped inside. The tunnel smelled of damp metal and dust. Emergency lights flickered weakly. They stopped only when they were deep enough that the sounds of the city faded. Kira leaned against the wall and slid down until she was sitting on the floor. Her breathing was uneven. "I am sorry," she said. "I never wanted to involve you." Daniel sat across from her. "You didn't, they did." She looked at her hands. "What you saw on the bus, that is why they hunt us." "Us?" Daniel asked. "My people," she said. "We are called the Velari." He waited. "We are small," she continued, "but our muscles are dense, our bones are layered. Our nervous systems react faster than most species. Long ago, larger empires saw this as useful." Her voice was flat, as if she had told this story many times. "They took Velari children and trained them as shock units, close combat, boarding actions, silent removal." Daniel felt sick. "When the wars ended," Kira said, "they feared us, too strong, too fast, so they classified us as dangerous, limited our movement, required special registration. Many of us were disappeared." "And you?" Daniel asked. "I ran," she said. "I came to human space because humans were new to the galaxy, less involved, less aware." Daniel exhaled slowly. "So those enforcers, they were not police," she said. "They were collectors." For a long moment, only the drip of water echoed in the tunnel. "You didn't hurt them badly," Daniel said. "No," she agreed. "I held back." He shook his head in disbelief. "Everyone thought you were weak." She gave a small, sad smile. "That is how I survived." Hours passed. Daniel checked his device. Alerts filled the screen. The city was under partial lockdown. The bus incident was everywhere, videos shared from a dozen angles, slowed down, analyzed. Comments flooded in. Some called Kira a monster, others called her a hero. Many asked why enforcers were dragging civilians away in the first place. Human networks spread the footage faster than alien authorities could suppress it. "That's humanity for you," Daniel muttered. "Once we see something unfair, we don't let it go." Kira watched the screen. "This will make things worse." "It'll make them harder to hide," Daniel said. A loud mechanical hum echoed through the tunnel. Lights flickered. "They are scanning," Kira said, standing. "We must leave." They moved deeper, following old maps Daniel remembered. Eventually, the tunnel opened into an abandoned maintenance station. Broken signs in human languages hung crookedly. Dust covered everything. A group of people waited inside. Daniel froze. Then a human voice spoke. "Easy, we're not enforcers." A tall human woman stepped forward. She wore simple clothes and carried no visible weapons. Behind her stood humans and a few aliens, different species, all watching carefully. "We saw the video," the woman said, "and we know what they do to people like her." Daniel glanced at Kira. You can't stay in the open, the woman continued, but we can help you hide. Why? Kira asked quietly. Because, the woman replied, if they can take her today, they can take any of us tomorrow. They stayed in the station for days. Word spread quietly. Humans brought food. Old systems were repaired. Screens were set up to monitor the city. Alien authorities issued statements calling the incident a misunderstanding. Humans responded with questions, protests, and demands. Daniel watched ordinary people become something more: bus drivers, factory workers, teachers. They shared routes, schedules, blind spots. Humans knew their cities better than anyone. Kira trained quietly in one corner of the station, not to fight but to stay ready. Daniel watched her sometimes, amazed by her control. Every movement was measured, nothing wasted. One night she joined him as he watched the feeds. They will come here, she said. I know, Daniel replied. When they do, she said, they will bring force. Daniel nodded. Then they'll meet something they don't understand. What is that? She asked. Humans, he said, at their most stubborn. Above them the city grew louder. Something was coming, and this time it would not be quiet. The abandoned maintenance station no longer felt abandoned. Lights glowed where darkness had ruled for years. Old screens flickered with city maps, transit lines, and security feeds. People moved quietly but with purpose. Humans and aliens stood together, sharing food, tools, and information. Fear was still there, but it had changed shape. It was sharper now, focused. Kira stood near one of the screens, watching enforcement drones sweep across the upper districts. Their movements were slow and confident, like hunters who believed their prey had nowhere left to run. They are closing the circle, she said. Daniel stood beside her. He looked tired. His uniform was gone, replaced by simple clothes, but he still carried himself like a bus driver, steady, grounded, used to responsibility. They always do, he replied. They think pressure solves everything. A murmur spread through the station as new alerts came in. Alien authorities had declared Kira a high-risk individual. They claimed she was a threat to public safety. They ordered anyone hiding her to surrender immediately. Some people looked afraid. Others looked angry. A human man slammed his hand on a table. They attack civilians, lie about it, and now they call her dangerous. A tall alien woman nodded slowly. They fear what they cannot control. Kira stepped forward. Her small figure drew the room's attention without effort. This will end badly if you stay with me, she said. I will not blame you if you leave. No one moved. Daniel spoke. You stood alone your whole life because people judged you by your size. Now they see the truth. You're not alone anymore. Kira's eyes softened, but her voice stayed calm. They will not negotiate. Then we make them listen, Daniel said. The plan was simple because complex plans failed under pressure. When the enforcers came, they would not hide. They would not fight first. They would stand in the open together where everyone could see. Human networks were already watching. Morning came with heavy clouds and low thunder. The station doors opened slowly, grinding from years of disuse. People walked out into the wide service plaza above, an old transport hub no longer used by official systems. Kira stood at the center. She wore no armor, no weapons, just plain clothes. Her hands were visible. Her posture was straight. Daniel stood beside her. Behind them stood dozens of humans, some aliens too. None of them carried weapons. Drones arrived first, hovering and recording. Then armored transports descended, surrounding the plaza. Enforcers poured out, weapons ready, forming lines. The lead enforcer stepped forward. Kira of the Velari, he announced. You are ordered to surrender. Kira's voice carried clearly. On what charge? Unregistered combat capacity, assault on authority units. You assaulted civilians first, Daniel said loudly. That's on record. The enforcer ignored him. Step forward alone. Kira did not move. Instead, Daniel stepped forward half a pace. No, the enforcer snapped. Not you. You don't get her without going through us, Daniel said. The enforcer scanned the crowd, his expression hardened. You are obstructing lawful action. Then make it lawful, a human woman shouted. Show the proof. Screens around the plaza suddenly activated. Footage played. Not the short clip that had spread online, but longer, clearer recordings. Enforcers boarding buses, grabbing civilians, quiet removals at night. Velari faces among them, small, scared, powerless. Gasps echoed across the plaza. These files were buried, Daniel said. Humans are very good at digging. The enforcer raised his weapon slightly. This gathering is illegal. Kira stepped forward then. Every eye followed her. I am Velari, she said. Yes, my people are strong. We were made strong by others. Used, feared, discarded. She looked up at the towering enforcers. I hid because I did not want to hurt anyone. I still do not. She placed her hands on the ground. Slowly, carefully, she lifted. The metal floor beneath her hands groaned. Then it rose. A thick, reinforced plate designed to hold heavy transports bent upward as if made of soft clay. Kira lifted it only a short distance, just enough to prove the point. Then she set it back down gently, without a sound. I could fight, she said, but I choose not to. The enforcers hesitated. This is what you fear, Kira continued. Not our strength, our choice. Weapons lowered slightly. The lead enforcer's voice faltered. You are restricted. Daniel spoke again. Humans were once restricted too, weak, divided. Then we learned something. He gestured to the crowd. You don't need to be the strongest, you just need to stand together. The drones continued to record. Across the city, across human space, people watched. Alien governments began issuing urgent messages. Human representatives demanded answers. Protests erupted in other cities. The enforcers received new orders. The lead enforcer stepped back. Withdraw, he said quietly. The armored lines broke formation. No shots were fired. When the transports lifted off, a sound rose from the plaza, not cheers but relief, deep, shaking relief. Kira closed her eyes. For the first time since she was a child, no one was chasing her. Days later, official investigations began. Velari restrictions were suspended. Survivors came forward, stories long buried surfaced. Kira was offered protection, positions, power. She refused them all. Daniel returned to his bus route. The city looked different now. Doors were adjusted, signs lowered, small changes but meaningful ones. Every morning, Kira boarded the bus. People noticed her now, not with mockery, not with fear, but with respect. Daniel greeted her like always. Good morning, she smiled. Good morning. The bus moved forward, steady and strong, carrying people of every size toward a future that finally felt shared.